You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Folks, 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery jogging in Brunswick, Georgia on Sunday when he passed a man who was standing in his front yard. That man tells cops later that he looked like somebody who was involved in a string of break-ins in the neighborhood. Now, according to police, Gregory McMichael grabbed his gun and his son, Travis McMichael, hopped into their truck to chase down this brother. They ended up shooting and killing him. But why aren't they in jail? How is it self-defense when the brother is jogging, minding his own business? Joining us right now is Lee Merritt. He is attorney for the family of the man who was shot and killed, Ahmaud Arbery. Lee, glad to have you back on Roland Martin Unfiltered. So, how are these two not arrested for murder?
Well, it's very important to note, and as you pointed out, that the shooter, the father of the shooter, is former law enforcement. He was in the district attorney's office for that county for the last 2 decades, and before that, he was a police officer. And so the district attorney, who will be responsible for the indictment, backed out of it almost immediately because he had a personal relationship with him. They transferred this case over to the next jurisdiction, and that DA backed himself out of it as well. They had to transfer it a 3rd time. It is now with the DA for Liberty County in South Georgia. We are encouraging everyone to call Liberty County, where it's been for the past 2 months, and encourage them to start an investigation. Because when we called the GBI, they had not been called to investigate this case yet.
Now, this happened, first of all, I said at the top, I said Sunday. It did not happen Sunday. First of all, the date was February 23rd when this actually happened. The father and the son grabbed a .357 as well as a shotgun, followed. They pull up to him while he's jogging, shout, "Stop, we want to talk to you." First of all, Arbery doesn't know who the hell these guys are. Why these 2 white guys in his neighborhood asking him to stop? Under what authority did they have to even demand that he stop and talk to them?
Roland, I have to tell you, I believe that they were actually acting under police authority, both as being former law enforcement, and because police, I'm told by witnesses, were on the scene within seconds. And so that means law enforcement had already been contacted, and there was likely some sort of communication between this police officer for 2 decades and law enforcement who arrived to the scene prior to the shooting.
Now, this is I'm reading a piece from the New York Times. According to documents obtained by the New York Times, a prosecutor who had the case for a few weeks told the police that the pursuers had acted within the scope of Georgia's citizens arrest statute, and that Travis McMichael, who held the shotgun, had acted out of self-defense. First of all, let's just reset this. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that was nothing more than opinion by a friend of the shooter, right? And so this was not a legal opinion. Any attorney, and I've spoken to the attorneys both in the state of Georgia and other people who have just looked at federal law, because that law in the first place needs to be challenged on its face, because the idea may be race neutral, but in places like South Georgia, that is giving white vigilantes a green light to go hunt down black people. That's how that law works out. So that law needs to be challenged on its face. But even under the law, it fails to meet the proper standards. He did not conduct himself as a person who was apprehending a suspect. He conducted himself as a person going out hunting for a black man.
Well, here's what's interesting. Again, I'm reading the New York Times piece. But others contend that Mr. Arbery was up to no good. On the day of the shooting, and apparently moments before the chase, a neighbor in Satilla Shores, where he was running, called 911, telling the dispatcher that a black man in a white T-shirt was inside a house that was under construction and only partially closed in. And he's running right now. The man told the dispatcher, there he goes right now. Then it says in his letter to the police, Mr. Barnhill, the prosecutor, noted that Mr. Arbery had a criminal past. He was convicted of shoplifting and of violating probation in 2018. 5 years earlier, he was indicted on charges that he took a handgun to a high school basketball game. Okay, but here's the problem here. There is nothing to indicate he was robbing a place. Nothing. And so how can you make a citizen's arrest and the only thing that you have in the case is this black guy jogging?
Right. Even the so-called dwelling that they were qualifying, you cannot burglarize a dwelling with no doors. That's impossible. And so this dwelling that he allegedly was seen in, or someone with some black person with a white T-shirt was seen in, was a dwelling without any windows or doors. You can't burglarize that under the legal definition.
First of all, is there an actual investigation? It's been transferred, but is there an investigation? Is that prosecutor's office? I mean, is someone actually doing an investigation?
My office contacted the GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigations. They will require the DA, when they receive the file, because the DA is not from that county, he can't send out his investigators. He would have to contact the GBI to help him with the investigation. When I spoke with the GBI earlier today, they said they had not received a phone call from the district attorney over the case.
Okay, so you're representing the family. Has this prosecutor even talked to the family and given them an update of what's going on?
The family was told that they received the file 2 months ago, and they have not heard from them since. We contacted the district attorney's office today. My office has been calling nonstop. They have refused to answer our calls. We sent out a certified letter today to put them on notice that this victim's family needs to liaison with them, which is what they're required to do under the law.
Wow, this is a story that has not gotten lots of traction, primarily because of obviously all the attention being on coronavirus. Now, the family of Mr. Arbery has certainly, they've been trying to raise the attention on social media. The hashtag I Run With Maud, M-A-U-D, or also Justice for Ahmaud, A-H-M-A-U-D. They printed up T-shirts, things along those lines as well. And so, I mean, this is just stunning that 2 months have gone by and you do not have what should be a real investigation taking place. This black man is dead, 25 years old. These two folks are walking around free. And so what? I mean, are they saying that in Georgia, you get to basically accost anybody who's black regardless of what they're doing?
Yeah. The scary thing about this case is what happened was horrific enough. That's every mother's fear, that their son just goes for a jog and is randomly killed by two white vigilantes. That's scary enough. But how the city, the people responsible for investigating and prosecuting the men who did this, how they've handled it since is actually more scary. That's actually what makes it a lynching, Roland. It's because it's sending a signal to that entire community that you're not protected, that you're not safe, because vigilantes can do this to you and nothing will be done to them.
What's crazy here is that the prosecutor, who basically said nothing really happened here, again, read the New York Times, Mr. Barnhill, wrote that he did not believe there was evidence of a crime, noting that Gregory McMichael and his son had been legally carrying their weapons under Georgia law. And because Mr. Arbery was a burglary suspect, the pursuers, who had solid first-hand probable cause, were justified in chasing him under the state citizen's arrest law. Okay, here's what I'm trying to understand. He was jogging by. How did those two have probable cause, and how did he go from a guy jogging to being a suspect? Did these two see him steal something? Did these two hear a neighbor say, hey, that man just stole something? I mean, how does Barnhill arrive at these conclusions?
This is my suspicion. I just got involved with this case 24 hours ago. But my guess is that that these two men were coordinating directly with law enforcement. I say that because, as I said at the top, I've spoken with witnesses who were actually present during the shooting, nearby neighbors, who said that law enforcement came in, responded within seconds of the shooting, that they were already out, essentially, or near the area of the shooting. I believe that this 30-year lawman had already been coordinating with law enforcement before he killed Ahmaud.
Oh, I think when you read this, and first of all, again, they claim there was a video shot by a third bystander, and that, according to them, the video shows Arbery tried to grab the shotgun. Again, I'm reading from the New York Times. Grab the shotgun from Travis McMichael's hands, Mr. Barnhill wrote, and that he argued amounts to self-defense under Georgia law. I don't care if you have a right to carry a gun. You don't have the right to accost me and stop me. And if all of a sudden, if two white guys in a truck in Georgia roll up saying, stop, we want to talk to you, and they get out with a gun, I'm damn sure not going to just stand there and go, okay, sure, let's have a conversation.
No, absolutely not. So that law doesn't deputize the entire population to obey white men. I mean, that's essentially how the law would have to work. Then when men show up with guns and tell you to stop, then you have to stop or you can be killed.
This is, again, an absolutely stunning story, a tragic story. Lee Merritt, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, I want to bring in my panel right now. Adrienne Irmer, she's a fellow for the New Leaders Council of Chicago. Malik Abdul, Republican strategist. Kelly Bethea, communication strategist. Adrienne, I'll start with you. I mean, to listen to the details of this story, it is shocking, it's stunning, it's sad, but what you're also seeing is clear protection of one of their own by these prosecutors.
Yeah, I would have to agree there. But I also want to echo what Lee was saying in that these laws are supposed to be race neutral, but when you're in a place in small town Georgia, these aren't race neutral policies. And it does effectively become, if a white man pulls up and asks you to have a conversation with a gun in his hand, you're just supposed to acquiesce and submit. I did some digging around online, and I'm not an attorney, and I wish Lee was still here, because citizens arrest laws, the ones that I've seen, require that you physically witness the crime happening. And these two men clearly didn't witness anything. They saw this young man taking a jog, running, and they presumed guilt because of the color of his skin in the neighborhood that he was in. So, I'm hoping that justice can be served for this young man and his family, because this is tragic and sort of racism at its worst.
First of all, you're absolutely right. What you have here, again, you do have sort of this breakdown of laws. Kelly, I want to go with you. This whole idea that Arbery should just stop, hey, what you guys like? That's insane. I mean, I don't know of anybody, whether you're black or white, Latino or Asian, where if somebody just rolls up on you in a truck and yells, hey, stop, we want to talk to you, that you're going to be like, sure, how may I help you?
If not only that, if somebody rolled up on me in a truck and I am, just minding my business, that would prompt me to run. That would prompt me to get away, because just based off of history and what I was taught, how I learned to conduct myself in the world, that's a threat, especially if I don't know you. So the fact that this young man was in Georgia, minding his business for all intents and purposes, two white men in a truck rolling up on a young black man for no reason, there's nothing there that purports that these men knew what was happening. There's no reason to purport that this was even a citizen's arrest, because like my colleague just said, citizen's arrests typically mean that you saw the crime in progress, and because police are not there in a given time frame in order to arrest at that time, lest the person get away, that's when a citizen's arrest is warranted, so that you are there like a placeholder for the police, but only for a short amount of time. A citizen's arrest does not include you chasing somebody down in a car to accost them and then shoot them. That's not a citizen's arrest. That's a murder.
Agreed.
Melik, I'm sitting here reading. This is the Georgia Code. It says 2010 Georgia Code, Title 17, Chapter 4, Article 4. Arrest by private persons. A private person may arrest an offender if the offense is committed in his presence or within his immediate knowledge. If the offense is a felony and the offender is escaping or attempting to escape, I'm go to my iPad here, and I want you to see this again. I'll go back. If the offense is a felony and the offender is escaping or attempting to escape, a private person may arrest him upon reasonable and probable grounds of suspicion. Now, that's reading the actual code. Now, I want to read for you. This is from the Georgia Legal Aid website when it speaks of citizen's arrest. And let me get to it here. And so here's the section here. When making a citizen's arrest, a person may not use more force than is reasonable to make the arrest. Deadly force is limited to self-defense or to instances in which such force is necessary to prevent certain felonies. It must be stressed that the right of private citizens to make a citizen's arrest is limited. The fact that this prosecutor is serving as essentially the defense attorney for these two men shows you why they should have been recused. But the other issue is the fact that this prosecutor has already laid out a statement of facts for another prosecutor now take into account. That prosecutor, the moment, McMichael's involved, he used to be an investigator for our office, I can't touch this case, it needs to be transferred. The fact that this prosecutor's already outlined this whole deal, meaning he has established a narrative for the purpose of defending both of these men.
I'm pretty positive that I'm not the only one who immediately thought of Trayvon Martin and what happened with George Zimmerman as he decided to do. And in that case, he was in contact with law enforcement who told him not to pursue Trayvon Martin. And that's exactly what he did, ultimately killing him. And as we talked about with Trayvon, I'm pretty sure that anyone who's approached by strangers would be apprehensive, have any reservations or whatever. So the fact that something like this is happening again, then it was argued, understand your ground laws. Under that actual, those grounds, George Zimmerman got off. It seems as if in this case is a little, to me, a little more clear-cut than what we had in Trayvon Martin's. I'm sorry, this one isn't as clear-cut as what we had in the Trayvon Martin case, but the law, the application of the law is, I think that's probably what we're going to be looking at, how it's resolved. But once again, we're reminded of, for us, what it feels like being Black in America. And I think that those, the gentleman, I can't remember his name, but I think that the victim in this case, he should definitely have his rights protected. And whatever the family and the public can do to make sure that this case gets some attention, I'm hoping that if that happens and that it's resolved.
And of course, first of all, Ahmaud Arbery was actually killed 3 days before the 8th anniversary of the shooting death of Trayvon Martin. We certainly are going to continue to watch this story and pay very much attention to what is going on. Every single night. We've got some of the top Black experts. You're not going to see them on cable news or broadcast news because you swear Black people aren't experts when it comes to this health crisis. That's why we have this show and why we do what we do every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Joining us right now is retired General Russell Honoré, the nation's first black Surgeon General, Dr. Joycelyn Elders. John Hope Bryant, he is the founder of Operation Hope. Senator Kamala Harris of California, Dr. Cedrina Calder, retired General Lloyd Austin, Congresswoman Karen Bass, Commissioner Omari Hardick, Bureau President in Brooklyn, Eric Adams, Dr. Joseph Graves, America's Wealth Coach, Deborah Owens, Dr. Corey Abear, Patal Saul, Howard University student, Pastor Jamal Bryant, Dr. Christy McDowell, Benja Ajilore, senior economist at the Center for American Progress, Gilda Daniels, again, author of the book, The Crisis of Voter Suppression in America. 4 stars, General Kip Ward. Dr. Oliver Brooks is president of the National Medical Association, president of the American Medical Association, Dr. Patrice Harris. Joby Benjamin, Dr. Alexia Gaffney, infectious disease specialist, Dr. Georges Benjamin, executive director of the American Public Health Association, Malcolm Nance, family medicine physician, Dr. Jen Caudle, Dr. Tashaka Cunningham, a molecular biologist, Kat Stafford. She's a national race and ethnicity reporter for the Associated Press. Dr. Wayne A.I. Frederick, who is the president of Howard University, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke from the state of New York, William Spriggs, AFL-CIO economist, Andrea James, executive director of the National Council for Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls. All right, let's go to Capitol Hill. Congressman Gregory Meeks, Congresswoman Eddie British Johnson of Texas, Congresswoman Barbara Lee, Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, mental health clinician Jamie Singletary, Prince George's County State's Attorney Aisha Brayboy, as well as Dylan Hayrie, ACLU Justice Division strategist. Dr. Cindy Duke, she is a virologist. Principal Steve Perry of Capitol Prep. Health and wellness specialist Dr. Yolandra Hancock. Desmond Meade, president of the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. Cliff Albright, who is the co-founder of Black Voters Matter. Michael Harriet with The Root. Mina McWhorter, founder of Love by the Hand. Dr. Julianne Malveaux, economist, president, Merritt at Bennett College. Coroner Michael Fowler is a mayor of Atlanta. Keisha Lance Bottoms, mental health therapist Suzette Clark. Justin Gibney, attorney and political strategist, and Bishop Vincent Matthews Jr. Dr. Suzette McKinney, CEO and executive director of the Illinois Medical District. Dr. Leon Madugal, president-elect of the National Medical Association. Jana Bailey, mayor of Moss Point, Mississippi. Mario King. We're going to keep driving this thing to make sure our people are fully aware, safe, protected from coronavirus. You're getting the top medical experts, the top business experts, top political experts, top religious experts, because that's why we do what we do. Unapologetically and unfiltered. Ain't nobody else in the black media space doing what we do. Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.